Stand by for broadcast.
You're listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations.
Hello, I'm Squadron Leader Peter Lisney, and in this episode we find out what's going on at RAFX. We'll also reheat a few stories, just in case you missed them. But first, see if you can identify this noise.
Memorial 1, clear to land, 108011, approach cable down, overland cable up. Here's down, we have the helicopter in sight, Memorial 1.
Find out if you're right at the end of this episode. Now, if you'd like to see what day-to-day tech the RAF will be using in the future, a visit to the Innovation Hub at RAF Leeming should give you some clues. We sent our correspondent Flight Lt Chris Sully to meet the RAFX team. That's X for experimental.
Right now, people might even see it as a gimmick, but we are using this as validated learning.
And with our sort of culture that is at the minute, we need to be able to sort of fail safe and fail well. Sometimes in a normal workplace it would be a very different relationship, maybe one-sided, whereas here we sort of speak to each other as equals and we sort of listen to each other's ideas.
Hi, so I'm Sergeant Phil Magic Wands and I'm a Deputy Operating Officer at RAF Experimental at Leeming.
Hello, I'm Corporal Tommy Taylor. I'm currently a facilitator at RAFX at RAF Leeming.
Now Magic, we came here today because a few months ago I was at the Astro Awards at Hendon and I met Spot, and I've come here to meet Spot, and I'm not actually going to get to see Spot today, am I? What's happened to Spot?
So Spot fell over and unfortunately we've had to send the robot back to Boston Dynamics, but luckily because of what we're using the robot for, a lot of it's been documented, so we sent that off to Boston Dynamics. They agreed that it was a fault their side and essentially it's under warranty, so back goes the robot. We'll get it back reasonably soon, hopefully.
Tommy, let's take this right back to basics. We've mentioned Spot. What the heck is Spot?
Spot itself is a four-legged, probably about waist high to an average person, robot. It has a head, and that is probably where the similarities end with the dog, unfortunately. No tail in this time. It's AI for short, but we can use it for coding in the programs, we can use it for monitored, and we can use it as a person-controlled robot with its 360 degrees cameras to see what it sees. It also has a weight load of 14 kilograms, so we can use for transporting goods.
How is it being funded? How is that working?
So it was a bit of a sort of agreement between us, a company called AQ Limited, and the Eden Project. So 3-part ownership, sort of 3-part experimentation, and we all look to collaborate and learn from each other. So on the RAF side of things, we got funding from Astra because it's a future capability that we're looking at. They funded that, so now the RAF owns this and we're looking to use it and abuse it every way that we can to try and learn from it.
And we are at that development stage, so there are going to be mistakes, things are going to happen, things are going to work, sometimes things are not going to work so well. In terms of getting it to some semblance of final use, where are we on that journey?
I think, to be honest, we're quite close at the force protection side of things. So we had exercise Agile Liberty in August. It's the US Air Force came over with, I believe it's the F-15s, and we managed to get a joint patrol with the RAF Regiment, the security patrol of the US Air Force, and Spot on the perimeter, and we could view it all from the tablet and we could send it off on a pre-planned route.
So Spot, or as you call him, it, he, them, I'll check that one out as well. Is it a he, a she, is it a they?
He is called he by us, but it is a robot. Like you just fall in line with giving it either a gender or a name. So we called the robot Coleman because the coloured sort of Coleman's mustard. It's roughly on the same lines as that, but it just kind of personifies it a little bit. But it's still a robot. It won't roll over for you to tickle its belly or anything. So,
how did it come about? How did you first come across Spot Coleman?
So it was actually along the lines of the 5G network that we're looking to, or that we have been establishing at RAF Leeming. And one of the parties said that they were looking to invest in this as a capability, the RAF. So this is is a great potential experiment, and it fell in line with what we do here at RAF Experimental, so we jumped all over it, and luckily we get the funding from Astra to do it.
It is an exciting time to be around technologies, sort of leaps and bounds. Within the RAF, how much of a lean-in do you get from senior command?
We do present quite a lot to the senior leadership team. We're part of the Astra Technology Exposure Day earlier on in the year, so that was in March. We'd done the first iteration on that. That was on something slightly different. That was on augmented reality capability that we were looking to sort of invest in. However, Spot's still read in, and we still present on what we're working on. And we try and keep the right parties. The sort of the mantra that we're working off is if you shout loud enough, hopefully some people listen in, and if we're doing something outside of a swim lane, then somebody's bound to let us know.
What are you hoping? We talked a little bit about the force protection side. What else are you hoping it might be able to do eventually?
So we've spoke to possibility of ATC, the caravans at the end. We were thinking of, hopefully, we still need to look at the legislation and see where it would fit in, because it is a live airfield. Spot on a patrol of the ATC, so then they could see at the bits where the tower can't, behind divots or dips.
We watch it now. We've seen robots for a while that can climb stairs and do things and even hit a tennis ball or kick a football or whatever. What's the difference with Spot? Is it because it is autonomous? Is that the difference?
I feel personally we haven't, as RAFX, sort of unlocked its full capability due to our sort of tech background, tech know-how. We do sort of need to get a sort of cross-functional team together for people who have maybe more of a coding knowledge. But with the fact that you can program it to do basically whatever its motors allow it to do, that's, I feel, the sort of full capability of it, and that is something that we're looking at to enable in the future.
And it helps that we're working between ourselves and two industry partners, because whatever they learn and they sort of showcase, we can sort of bring that in as well. And so the autonomy of it, so right now we are sort of controlling them through a controller, and that can go up to a few hundred metres. But until we really get into the nitty gritty of people who are fantastic at coding that really want to exploit this as a capability, we're just sort of waiting on that. But the beauty of the whole thing of having Spot, having this robot, is it's an experiment. We look to see what happens in the future and challenge sort of what the normal is, what the status quo is.
And we talk about challenging the normal, challenging the status quo. We talked a little bit about sort of lean in from senior command. How far do you see this going? What do you see Spot and his sort of descendants to be able to do for the Air Force and beyond?
Well, that's a very good question, because Spot himself or itself isn't necessarily going to be the future, but having robots or autonomous robots for last mile logistics or force protection, whatever we want to use them for, it's showcasing what the Air Force could be using in normal daily business. So right now, people might even see it as a gimmick, but we are using this as validated learning to educate ourselves for the future. So it might not be a Boston Dynamics robot, but that's currently what we've got. We'll exploit it because it's very good at what it does. As you talk about going up and down the stairs, it can do that. It's got machine learning. You can set it up so it won't run into things or people, and if it doesn't like scenarios, it sort of won't go into it. But the key is, for the future of the Air Force, autonomy, probably robots, it will be part and parcel. We are just right at the leading edge.
Spot's back in America at the moment because of a technical issue. That's going to happen from time to time. For somebody who maybe is listening to this thinking of joining the Air Force, how user-friendly is the Air Force in terms of being able to make mistakes and learn from them? So
if I'm honest, it's come a long way, and I think sort of everyone's going in the right direction. Personally, as sort of project lead for Spot, I was terrified when sort of Spot went down, because it's quite a big price tag to be failing with. But the fact I could go to a group captain, explain what had happened, show the video proof, and it was validated. It wasn't doing anything that I shouldn't have been doing. It was sort of like, and his response was, we'll deal with this. It's insured. We expected this. There's room to fail, as he said. And I think that's what the Air Force itself, especially at the minute, and with our sort of culture that is at the minute, we need to be able to sort of fail safe and fail well. And I think especially the group captain here was very well at dealing with that.
And presumably magic cubes that will go along with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's our bread and butter here at RAF Experimental. So if we fail, we'll usually see it as a positive. So you'll have validated learning, which will take you on to the next step. So for example, we learned that Spot failed. So we think it was one of the motors. We spoke with Boston Dynamics, but that was the first time it happened. So now we know if something else along the same circumstances happens, we know the quicker route to get the robot sent back. We know that either the customs or dealing with Stratcom, we know exactly the people and how to deal with this. Everything's taken as a positive. It's just making sure that instead of it being maybe one person in isolation, you sort of capture it, document it, and share the knowledge sort of wide and far. And that's pretty much what we do here at RAFX. We look to capture this learning, validated learning, document it, and then sort of share it out within the innovation ecosystem, whether it's with Spot or any of the other projects, or sustainability projects, or wellness projects, or 5G.
Presumably that must take a heck of a lot of pressure off you, knowing that you have that room to make mistakes and errors there as well.
As we have this conversation, so it's good to fail, but it's only good to fail if there's a positive outcome.
We do still avoid failing. I just want to clarify. Like we would, obviously, the nirvana is to have a perfect experiment that answers all our questions. We're just very realistic in understanding that isn't always the answer. So it's the fact that when we do fail, you know that you're not going to be met with paperwork and one-way conversations.
Meeting without coffee.
Yeah, and it's sort of similar to riding a bike. You fall off the bike, you learn that it's not good to fall off the bike, and then it's possibly painful. So moving forward, you try not to do that in every way which you can.
You've touched on the fact already that Spot has a 5G, or you're developing a 5G capability. What's that about, and have you got something here you can sort of talk us through? So
we've developed a private 5G network here at Leeming. Essentially, it's just letting us put Spot onto a 5G network and see what we can do with it, which more than anything else will allow that autonomy for him to go sort of here, there and everywhere, but being able to control it from anywhere, and that's anywhere to do with the 5G network. So anywhere on site, Spot will have connectivity and be able to go and sort of report back what it sees, or if you wanted to go into sort of hard to reach areas. A lot of the conversations were around hazardous areas. So if you're somewhere you maybe don't want to send a person, you can send Spot. Spot will go in, look at it, and then out it comes, and we kind of learn from there.
Do you see maybe like an EOD role as well for Spot eventually?
Yeah, so we've actually not gone too far down that route, but personally I know some guys who've worked in EOD, and I think as a quadruped it can get in and out of difficult spaces. So we went into a hardened aircraft shelter, and the doors, as a person, it's around sort of a foot to step over this, and Spot walked in and out, no trouble at all, so you can make it a bit taller or a bit shorter, so you've kind of got that. So yeah, anything and everything. We're just happy for people to approach us and say, what could we do with this, and we'll try it.
So presumably someone listening to this now that's thinking, I've got an idea, what's the best way to progress that? Is it through Astra, or is it to come to you directly? So we're sort of the custodian, so Tommy here is looking after him, or it. That's my own fault, because I've got a male dog, so I keep calling Spot him, but it's a robot. We all know it's a robot. Yeah, so we here at RAFX are sort of looking after the time management between all three parties. Not everybody here on the project at Leeming has an engineering or a technical background, do they?
No, so across the team, so it's an any trade role and it's a volunteer role, but we're lucky enough that we've had some people who are awaiting training or awaiting sort of further postings that have a bit of spare time. So usually we get them for around 6 months, and we use and abuse that time. So Tommy's one of them. He's come in with us. His background's in policing, but he's really grasped the technical aspect of this and the sort of management of time and Spot. It's been fantastic.
So we're at Leeming. We're in a fairly unassuming looking building. What actually goes on here day to day, particularly at the moment when you haven't got a Spot around? Yeah, so Spot's just one of the many projects that we've got on going in sort of at the RAFX Innovation Hub. So this is, as it's named, an innovation hub. It's for people to come sort of far and wide. It's been used as a meeting space, which helps people get in the door. So as you see here, we've got some colourful furniture, we've got a big space, we've got lots of meeting spaces, and it just lets people come in out of their normal sort of environment to try and get some sort of out of the box thinking. So we hold a few events if it's either sort of continuous improvement, and we look to shoehorn some sort of innovation in there and just get people thinking about the capabilities of the future. A lot of the stuff that we deal with isn't necessarily going to be fixing problems today and tomorrow, but it's looking for future capabilities, which is
So Project Vital is working alongside Newcastle University, and that's 6 experiments that look to really tackle how the MOD and the UK are working in towards net zero 2040. So Leeming's got a very ambitious goal of net zero 2025, and luckily Project Vital really bolsters onto the side of that.
So what would an average day be here? Tell me, what would you get up to, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, unfortunately there isn't much of an average day, but it involved briefing to the CAS, we've had decom ops, we've had, and then CI events, continuous improvements just for other units. We've had sort of ATC come in. It's just looking for what we like to call a wild card, someone who can come in as not a SME, probably doesn't even understand the job themselves, and just sort of look at the issues and say, well, why don't we approach it this way and approach it that way? And as I said before, the rankless structure that we sort of hold in here, I think, can benefit a lot of units themselves who obviously an SAC won't often even speak to an OC, never mind question them. But when they come in here, we're all equals. We can all sort of, and we do it maturely. You know, we're not here for name calling or anything like that, but we're here to just make sure that everyone's heard. I think that's one of the main bits of the RAFX.
Because we are standing here, you're in civvies, that's a normal day for you as well?
Oh yeah, smart civvies, we've got to clarify, you know, got to go with the collar and that just in case.
Commuter shorts are looking good, though. I'm joking, they're not there yet. So that's a normal thing, then, no uniform?
Yeah, so unfortunately I haven't quite got myself on yet, but we do have the issued polos, as it were, with the emblem.
Oh,
you know,
impressive.
Bit of branding just to make sure, but it's always, we have a wrangler structure here just so when, obviously, Magic as a sergeant, I'm a corporal. Sometimes in a normal workplace it would be a very different relationship, maybe one-sided, whereas here we sort of speak to each other as equals and we sort of listen to each other's ideas, and it's the same when I'm speaking to, say, my head, who's a warrant officer, and again we can speak to each other openly and sort of just address the issue for what it is without that rank blurring it.
How long did that take to get used to? Because obviously we are in a structured environment normally, and coming from a policing background is very different.
So I previously was with the army and I still can't call my warrant by the first name. It's only Mom.
Tommy's still struggling. I kind of walked into it, but Tommy still struggles sometimes. But then you've got, so he's been with us now since August, but you've got a lot of people who've, you spent 2.5 years working with the army. It's like any sort of culture, anything that you're used to. But the key is that it doesn't matter what you do. If that's what he's comfortable with, the key is that you don't. It's not forcing people to do what they don't want to. Like, if he wants to call me sergeant, he can call me sergeant. I might come back at him a couple of times, but realistically, it doesn't really matter. However he can work most efficiently and to benefit not just the RAFX but the RAF as a whole. That's what I'm encouraging.
So who are you looking for? Who would you want to get through the door?
Well, the key for us is coming through that door needs to be people who are enthusiastic, and that's what we get. We get a lot of people who are enthusiastic, not necessarily about working with us or working with RAFX, but enthusiastic about the next generation Air Force and trying to create that platform for the future. Because realistically, by the time 2040 comes, I'll be gone in it with a distant memory. But for a lot of people joining, they'll be, some of them, senior leaders by the time it comes to fruition, and if they can pave the way for the future, that's what we want, and we really passionately try and make that come to fruition.
So somebody else that's maybe in a different trade, different branch, different service even at the moment, Tommy, and is thinking about doing that, what's the first step for them to find out a bit more?
I think the first step, simply just reach out. RFX team, our innovation as a whole, like I said, there's Astra, there's sort of, we don't want to sort of undermine any of our colleagues, but it's simply, you know, the first step is saying hello, and we're very happy here to just have someone come for a brew, and even if we're not the answer, we're happy to sort of take you through that as a journey and sort of see where the next steps might be best.
And is this a permanent posting for you, or is this a 2-3 year thing?
At the minute it's looking up just like a year, but we've sort of got to see where it's going.
If he's good enough, we'll keep him.
What's the verdict at the moment?
So for the core team, it's a 3-year post. Like that, in sort of a lot of cases, especially with the sort of the CI construct, they like to, or if you can extend to 5 years, you extend to 5 years. For a lot of the project officers that we've got, it is around 6 months. We've got Tommy a little bit longer, so as long as we can keep him, we'll definitely keep him.
That's on tape now as well, so it's very good. What are the projects? We mentioned the 5G, we've got Spot, obviously. What other things are you working on here?
We've got a few in the pipeline, so we've just had a £3 million funding project with Newcastle University, so that's Project Vital, the sustainability. We've got Project Connect, which is the 5G, Project IOTA, which is Internet of Things Applied, so that's looking at all things, sort of Internet of Things, and that's involving a digital twinning team, so this is basically hobbyists who are using the Innovation Hub to come in and just learn how they might be able to make a digital twin of a unit. We've got what was called sort of Project Wellness, so that's looking at the mental health and well-being of whole force personnel, and I think that's the key. Everything that we do is whole force. Anyone and everyone can provide that sort of insight, whether it's as a wild card, somebody without any experience, or as somebody with outside or industry experience. We've had a few people who are reservists who have got in contact and they've got industry experience, which is absolutely invaluable. So they're a sort of bigger project. We've got some other stuff on the side, so we've done some augmented reality stuff, working with squadrons off of RAF Leeming, so we've kind of gone down there, and then just collaborating with academia and industry. So we do a lot of stuff with the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre at Sheffield University. We do sort of collaboration with the Eden Project, and it's just that validated learning piece, make sure that we learn and share as we go. I've definitely learned in this job.
And every day's a school day, I guess.
Absolutely.
How important to the future of the Royal Air Force do you think projects like this are, Tommy?
I think personally they're sort of invaluable, especially when you look at the likes of sort of wellness, the sort of mental health side of things. I think it's something that we haven't always looked at in the military, and it's definitely becoming a lot more real now. And the fact that we can, the likes of Movember, things that are being embraced, the likes that we're not just shunning it away and it's not a dirty taboo topic anymore, and everyone's took in, no matter age, race, gender, whatever it may be. I think the sort of vital, especially obviously hot topic COP26 and getting that carbon net zero, that's something which I think for a long time we've all sort of wondered whether it is real or not, and the evidence is there, so we definitely need to face it. So it's good that the military as a whole has took it sort of on the chin, and when we will deal with this.
We've got an Inside Air coming up with Group Captain Dixon, who obviously is leading on sustainability. How much involvement, you talked about various projects you're involved with. It's going to be a significant thing for everyone involved, isn't it, over the next few years?
Yeah, so Group Captain Dixon comes into the hub and works out here sometimes, so he's locally based, and he's drawn in, so he works closely with Project Vital, so the sustainability project, and I think everything within the Air Force, we just need to continue to talk and keep the good communications up. That's sometimes what we learn, is that at times there might be some stovepipe working, so you might think you've got something fantastic, and then once you lift your head above the parapet you realise that they've done that 2 years ago. So it's trying to make sure that we do those joining up with connections, and having Group Captain Dixon involved with sustainability is fantastic.
You talked a moment ago, just as we come towards the end of this, about 2040, and you'll be out of the Air Force by then, passing on to the subsequent generations. What would you hope will be the legacy of projects like this, beyond individual technological things you're working on? What would you hope will be the bigger picture?
I just hope that what we are doing here at RAFX and at Leeming is paving the way for the future. It doesn't have to be that there's a plaque outside that's got my name on it, but if what we're doing here helps create sort of that validated learning or informed decision making, even in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll sleep happy in my bed if I feel as though I'm contributing to the next gen Air Force, which I do, and that either naively or not. I think that's what we all want here at RAFX.
What about yourself, Tommy? I
feel as long as the sort of reinforced learning, I think that's the main thing. As much as I feel rank has its place and has its sort of fit within the military, as long as we can acknowledge sometimes you do need to listen to someone who's lower rank, or even someone who's 3 ranks above you, that just to appreciate that sometimes life experience isn't sort of expressed via rank.
This is Reheat for Inside Air. I'm SAC Victoria Andrews. The UK and Japan will undertake research to develop a world-leading fighter jet sensor. The Universal Radio Frequency Sensor technology, known as Jaguar, could enable the armed forces to better detect future threats from air, land and sea, quickly and accurately locating targets and denying surveillance technology operated by adversaries. Designing, building and evaluating the Jaguar system will take around 5 years. RAF Regiment personnel have been controlling US Navy F/A-18 Hornet fighter aircraft in a 2-week air-land integration exercise in the US, known as Exercise Eagle Lightning. The exercise was designed to hone the skills of the Joint Terminal Attack Controllers and Signallers. They're the ground troops that direct combat aircraft engaged in close air support from forward locations. Polar scientists have praised air crews from RAF Bryce Norton for their continued support of British Antarctic Survey polar operations. A 47 Squadron C-130 Hercules has carried out a series of airdrop sorties to sustain remote survey depots and was backed up by air-to-air refuelling from a Voyager. Finally, to sport, the Inter-Services Snow Sports Championships has taken place in the French Alps with plenty of honours for RAF athletes. Flight Lieutenant Paddy Morris walked away with 2 wins from 3 events. He took both the snowboard cross and the slopestyle trophies with impressive performances. It was a big week too for Corporal Rachel Hughes, who leaves Marrable with 4 wins under her belt. She kicked off with a win in the Super Combined race before disappointment in the downhill. A loss though which spurred her on to claim the ski slalom, Super G and the giant slalom titles. That's Reheat on Inside Air.
I'm SAC Simon Ross with this episode's Name That Noise.
Memorial 1, clear to land, 108011, approach cable down, over on cable. Fuse down, we have the helicopter in sight, Memorial 1.
That was the sound of Air Traffic Control, or ATC, during the arrival of the Canadian Lancaster at RAF Coningsby. In 2014, the very special visitor from the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum landed in atrocious weather conditions at RAF Coningsby. Lancaster CGVRA, otherwise known as Vera, had been flown hundreds of miles to join the Lancaster based at the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. This was the start of the 2 Lancs Tour, a programme of events that would see the Lancasters flying together over 60 different venues throughout the UK. Air traffic control is at the heart of the RAF's flying output. You could be working from an airfield, a bunker, a building, a tent, or even an aircraft carrier. Not forgetting weapons control, who direct fast jets to intercept potentially hostile aircraft threatening the UK's airspace.
That's all for this episode of Inside Air. Please give us a review and subscribe on your favourite podcast app, and join us again soon.
You've been listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. If you're serving in the RAF and have a story for us, please speak to your unit media and communications officer. Inside Air is written and produced for the Royal Air Force by RAF Media Reserves.